And make sure it's 10:30 doing time. Now this morning your guide is Ben. Make your way to the gate, ensure you to your seat. 10:30 doing time to Ben.
But they snooze, they lose. Now, my name is Ben. I'll be your guide for the morning. Because this is prison, we'll go over rules first. Rule number 1, mobile telephones. Take them out of your pocket right this very second and turn them on silent. It's very, very important these are on silent. If they go off on tour, I will take them from you, smash it on the ground, step on them, and really break them. I hate mobile phones going off on my tour. These are no longer mobile phones either. They are now cameras only. You can take photos wherever you like. That's not a problem. But what you can't do is answer phone calls, make phone calls, take text messages, play Angry Birds. Yes, I'm looking at you. You look like an Angry Birds man. No, okay. You also cannot use it for the internet or anything like that. Just please take it for photos and photos only. Otherwise, it's really distracting for me. Now, with the rest of the rules, it is nearing lunchtime. I am starving. I have not eaten breakfast today. I have not eaten lunch today. If you take out food on tour, I will take it from you. I will eat it in front of your face and laugh right at you, okay? No food, no drink, only bottled water, okay? Bottled water is fine, but everything else, keep it in your purse, keep it in your backpack, keep it hidden, and have it after the tour. Also, it's a very big prison. We've got a lot of ways to turn, a lot of directions to go. Make sure you stay with the group. You don't lag behind, you don't wander off, because it's very easy to get lost. And I have not lost anyone since my 9 o'clock tour this morning, okay? So I am getting better, all right? But I'm not great yet. So make sure you stick with me. I'll show you where to go. Also, it's very easy to trip over. We've been having a lot of rains lately. Some surfaces are slippery. There's a lot of cracks, crevices, nooks, crannies, things to fall on top of. So just watch your step as you go through. It's a very old building as well. 1852, we started construction. Some of the wallpaper is peeling off. It doesn't need your help to pick at it or touch anything. Just old open doors. That's the only thing you need to touch on the tour today. That's about it for rules. If you break any of this, don't worry, I'll let you know right away if you're not doing the right thing. Once again, my name is Ben. I'll be your guide for the morning. This is the Doing Time Tour. So you guys are here to learn things. You're here to figure out when it was built, who built it, what that specific room will be in was used for, things like that. So we'll start off with where we are now. This is the reception. This is your introduction to Fremantle Prison. How it would have worked is you would have pulled up in a van on the other side of that door right there. You would have unloaded from that van, stood right where you folks are sitting. Just behind you on these hooks was a coat hanger. Sir, if you don't mind stepping to the side for a sec. Was a coat hanger with a bag on it and your name written across it, hanging up on the hook behind you. You then would proceed to take off all your clothes, put it in that coat hanger, and sit down bare bottom on that bench right there. Thousands of naked prisoner bums have sat on that bench before you. It's a very dirty bench. Do your laundry after the tour. Now, one at a time, you would come on up here and you would get processed. What would happen is, let's see. Yes, you, sir, look like you might spend a little time here in Fremantle Prison. Right foot on this line, left foot on this line. Now, this prisoner would be up here stark naked in front of all of his new friends. Guard would come, pat him down, make sure he wasn't hiding any drugs, weapons, paraphernalia, things like that. The next step, arms out just like this, sir. Squat down just like this, sir. Guard had a stick with a mirror on the bottom of it. Went around checking all the nooks and crannies, cracks and crevices, making sure he wasn't hiding anything else. Now, sir, left hand goes on your left knee. Right hand goes on your right knee. The glove goes on, and we check the suitcase. But we're not going to do that today, sir. Go ahead. Your wife over there. There you go. It did happen, yes. Now, what we have after that, you'd head into this room over here where a guard would meet you. He'd explain the rules to you. He'd explain what sort of things are okay, what sort of things are not okay here. He'd explain what jobs we had available as well. If you were male, you could have one of many jobs to pick from. Let's say you're an auto mechanic. You could be an auto mechanic in here. Say you were a carpenter. Be a carpenter in here. If you were a chef, you could work in our kitchens. Many jobs as long as you were male. If you were female, you had one job, and we'll talk about that job later on. Now, don't you worry, ladies. Over here, you had uniform, t-shirt, jumper, trousers. All of these were made by male prisoners in the tailor shop. A pair of boots. These boots were made by male prisoners in the boot shop. And a goodie bag with soap, razor blades, undies, toothpaste, toothbrush, and most importantly, prisoner information booklet. Very important you learn those rules as quickly as possible. Otherwise, a guard took a baton, hit you in the back of the head pretty quickly. So you had to learn those. You then went into the showers, took a shower, and then off to your cells. Now, this is where the general prison population would sit. At-risk prisoners in this back room over here. At-risk prisoners were ex-police officers, snitches, pedophiles. All at the bottom of the prison totem pole were kept in there because they needed protection from these guys. Because if these guys mixed with those guys would beat the snot out of those guys. So you had to keep them separate for their own protection. Once these guys were done, these guys could begin. That's how it worked here. Now, sir, if you don't mind shutting the mesh gate behind you, not that wooden door, but that mesh gate. Yep, just go ahead and give it a good slam. Now, we are heading through the showers next. What you're going to need to do is hold the door open, and the person behind you, make sure that you've held the door open for them. Last person through, shut this door. Now, for audio guides, anywhere you see a number, hit the number, hit the green button, and listen, okay? If you can't understand me, if I speak too fast or whatever. If you have any questions, need me to slow down, let me know. I'll try to speak a little slower, things like that. Alright folks, stand on up, follow us this way, hold this door open, last person through, shut this door. Alright, if anybody wants a seat, you can take a seat. There's room for a couple people. The rest of you, go ahead, stand on up. Probably your best view of the prison grounds so far. If you take a look at the southern perimeter wall, you'll see a white painted line at the bottom of it. Below that, you'll see a bunch of rock. That rock is limestone. All of this used to be a massive limestone hill that stretched way past that wall there, all the way above the third story of the cell block, all the way to the northeast corner of the prison grounds. Prison grounds are 6 hectares in total. Originally, this is nothing but a massive limestone hill. Now, when the British government first established the Swan River colony here in 1829, they wanted to be a free colony, meaning they did not want to have convicts sent over here. So, what they'd have to do is they would have to set up everything themselves. All the infrastructure would have to be built by free men. Now, that was going to be a struggle. For the next 20 years, they struggled at setting up things like roads, telegraph systems, jetties, bridges, buildings, clearing farmland, things like that. So, the 1849, the Swan River Colony petitioned the British government to get convicts sent over here. 1850, the first convicts arrived. Now, when the convicts arrived, one of their first assignments was to build themselves a house. So, they chipped away at that hill, 1850, leveled all this land out, started construction with that part of the building, 1852, using the stone and the mortar from the hill they were chipping away at. And they worked their way this way, finished the building down there, 1859, 7 years later. The first time convicts actually slept inside the building was 1855. Now, as a convict, your career cycle worked a little bit like this. You were over in London or Glasgow or someplace in the UK. You committed a crime, you got caught, you went to court, finished your sentence in the UK prisons. You were then transported out over here. When you arrived, you slept in this building here. You worked all day outside the prison grounds. Or you were building infrastructure when you were outside the prison grounds. Things like roads, telegraph systems, jetties, bridges, buildings. All of that was what you were doing all day long. Now, 1850 to 1868. During that 18-year period, almost 10,000 convicts arrived. Basically, boat after boat after boat after boat. After 1868, they start getting weeded out of the system. As a convict, you lived inside the building, you worked outside the building, you then eventually got your ticket of leave. Ticket of leave was basically like probation or parole. You no longer had to sleep inside the prison. You could now sleep outside the prison, but you still had all these life restrictions. Things like having a curfew, a limited salary, you had to work for a registered work party, things like that. Now, you had to report to a magistrate as well. Now, after your ticket of leave was done, you eventually got your conditional pardon. Free, and went back home to the UK. You went back to the UK, they put a noose around your neck and hang you. So you pretty much had to stick around. Now, like I said, 1868, the last of the convicts arrived. After 1868, they start getting weeded out of the system with the tickets of leave, and this starts becoming more prisoner-based. Prisoners were people tried and convicted here in the Swan River colony and eventually Western Australia. So that's the difference between the two terms. Convicts, prisoners from the UK, sent over. Prisoners, people convicted here. That's the difference between the two names. Now, prisoners, unlike convicts, were not really allowed to leave the prison grounds. They had to find a job inside the prison grounds. So as long as you're male, you had several jobs available to pick from. Like I said, you could work in the kitchen, the boot shops. These were all veggie gardens as well. So you could be a veggie gardener up until the guards realized that the prisoners were not just growing culinary herbs here in the garden, so they chopped those down, got rid of those. Many jobs available as long as you're male. If you're female, your house is that brick building on the other side of that limestone wall, and you only had one job available, and it was mandatory. You had to do that job. Men had the right to choose if they wanted to work or what they wanted to do. Females did not. Females only had one job, and you had to do it, and that job was the laundry. They had to do all the dirty laundry from the male prison, all the dirty laundry. It's not really fair, but that's the way it was. Now, no machine washing either, all hand washing and washing. So, not very fair. Now, that wasn't the only thing unfair about the female prison. You had female guards guarding female prisoners, male guards guarding male prisoners. Female guards did the same exact job as the male guards. Same hours, same duties. Everything about their job was exactly the same except for their pay. They earned exactly half of what the male guards earned. So again, not really fair, but again, that's the way it was. The female prison was opened up for just over half a century. New division over there, that building in the corner, that was built later on. And this building here, from 1855, was the first time convicts actually slept inside, all the way until 1991. In 1991, we had serial killers, murderers, bank robbers, drug dealers, rapists, pedophiles, thieves, all of the worst criminals were kept in here. This was the maximum security prison all the way until 1991. So not that long ago. So let's go check out their house. They would work their way all the way down there, 1859, finishing 7 years later. Now, originally, this was all one giant cell block. There were no walls dividing the different divisions. Convicts were mixed in with other convicts, depending, there was no segregation. Everybody was mixed in. Didn't matter what crime you committed, what skin color you had, what age you were, anything like that. Everybody was mixed in with everybody else. It wasn't until many decades later that we divided the building into 4 separate divisions. They were used for different purposes throughout different time periods, but throughout the modern prison era, I'll go over some of the uses that they're used for. This division here, Division 1, was used as a juvenile detention center. For many, many decades, this was used as a juvenile detention center. So children who misbehaved were kept inside here. Now, throughout the modern prison era, you could spend up to 14 and a half hours a day in your cell. You ate dinner, you ate breakfast in the cell. Every bit in between pretty much was inside that cell. Now, throughout the modern prison as well, we quite often shared that cell with one other prisoner. So, 2 people, 1 cell. 14 and a half hours a day, sharing that cell. That was not the only thing that you shared. You also shared one of these. This, inside your cell for the 14 and a half hours a day, was your poop bucket. This is all you had to use as a toilet inside the cell. So that was used from 1855, when convicts first started sleeping here, all the way until 1991. Never had toilet plumbing inside the cells. Now, the floor below your feet is Yorkshire flagstone. This was taken from Yorkshire, England, used as ballast on the convict ships, installed as the original flooring. What you folks are doing is where the phrase toe the line comes from. You've heard the phrase toe the line? Putting your toes on the line. It's what the convicts and the prisoners had to do every morning when they came out of their cell to line up so the guard could make sure they didn't escape or killed the night before. The wood surfaces that you see are Jarrah timber taken from Kings Park. Convicts arrive here in Swan River Colony, they get to Kings Park, they chop down Jarrah trees, float them down the Swan River, install them as the original wood surfaces. You'll see these little things jutting out from the walkways above. There's one there, they go up, there's a few down there as well. Those were originally installed as whale oil lantern holders. So we used whale oil as our original lighting source here. So the whaling industry was huge business here in the early Swan River Colony's history, and that's what we used to light the prison for the first decade, maybe decade and a half. It's sort of fuzzy where that stopped being used. Eventually they converted to kerosene, and then eventually electricity. Alright folks, we'll go ahead and we'll keep on coming this way to the kitchens. Got here is the prison kitchens. This was the place where 23 prisoners were prepared somewhere between 500 and 600 meals every single day. Now that's a lot of work. That's a high stress environment. Your office supplies here were not laptop computers. They were not copy machines. They were big knives. Now sometimes arguments between coworkers did occur. Sometimes those arguments did not end well. Now what we're going to do in a moment is we're going to have a look inside a cabinet over here. Inside that cabinet you will see drawings, objects. All of those drawings existed prior to the prison's closure in 1991. That's how the guards knew what knife went on what hook at the end of the day. So go ahead, come on over this way, have a look through this cabinet, look at those drawings. And these were the knives that were given to prisoners every single morning and collected at the end of the day. When you're done with that, keep on coming this way. In this room you'll see photographs of the prison kitchen when it was operating. On the right hand side you will see kitchen out when we closed down in 1991.
Everyone wants to take a picture of a turtle. Yeah, true.
Division 1. So, like I said, Division 1, many decades, was used as an juvenile detention center. So juveniles would spend their daytime out here while they weren't taking classes. Now, every single morning you would take your filled up poop bucket, you dump it out and you slop out right here. So this is where you dump that poop bucket, and then you place it right where you folks are standing, depending on where your cell was in the division. For that, the guy with the worst job would come in, clean out the poop bucket, and then leave it for you that next evening. So you can pick it up and bring it back to your cell. Nasty, nasty job. Now, when you did work here, you earned money. The poop bucket, cleaning out poop buckets, earned $11 a week. Kitchens was considered the best job in the prison. That, you earned $23 a week. So that was pretty much the maximum. This was the minimum. So yeah, while you earned money, you could also spend money. Everything from toothpaste to sardines to electrical items like electrical fan. In 91 cost $52.35. You could even buy a 14-inch color TV set for yourself for $250. So if you have to clean out poop buckets for 11 bucks a week, that's a lot of poop buckets you're going to need to clean out before you can earn that TV set. Alright folks, so go ahead, we'll come on this way.
Original night, eh? Come on. This is where we were.
flashes turned off. Where there are no paintings, like here, you can have your flash on, not a problem. But again, anywhere where there's paintings like the chapel or some certain display cells, turn that flash on. So we're just going to head into the chapel. You're going to take a seat. We'll talk a little bit about it, and then you can go ahead and take as many pictures as you like when we're all done. Number 6 says, "Thou shalt do no murder." Number 6 is supposed to say, "Thou shalt not kill." Now, the reason it says, "Thou shalt do no murder," instead of "Thou shalt not kill," is because we were killing. 44 people died here at the end of the noose here in Fremantle Prison. So prison officials felt it might be a little hypocritical if up there on the chapel walls in big bold letters it said, "Thou shalt not kill," while we were killing. So they switched the words around, "Thou shalt do no murder," to make sure they were in the clear. That's the reason for that. Now, this room, originally, like I said, Mass was mandatory. You had to worship in here. Eventually it became voluntary, and you had the right to choose to worship in here. Now, general prison population would sit where you folks are sitting. Female prisoners up there in that back balcony. At-risk prisoners on this back right-hand side with the curtains drawn. Other denominations over here on this side. So other religions, other services would be in there. Now, this room, to this day, is a fully functioning wedding chapel. We had a marriage occur here 4 weeks ago. Now, I have noticed several couples here today. And I have noticed no rings on those fingers.
No.
We do have a little bit of space available this afternoon. If you are interested in a venue, I can work you a very good deal at such late notice if you are interested. Is this yes? Yes? Am I feeling that you're liking? Okay, maybe I'll lay off. Alright, no. We have not had one, we have not had two sure why they would want to marry their sweethearts in this room after spending time here. However, I do have one theory. And that theory is that they could have possibly felt when they were doing time here that their sentence was not long enough. They may want to sign up for a life sentence. Whatever. Go ahead, stand up, take your photos wherever you like, turn your flash off. Don't touch anything, wander around, have a look around. When you're all done, come on this way and we'll head downstairs. Now keep looking in the offices, that's fine. I'm just going to tell you a bit about them before you work your way down here. Over here are the administration sections, so you'll see the records office, information office, boardroom. All of these were for prison officials, prison officials only, prisoners and counsel to this section. These offices are basically set up exactly how they would look like throughout the mountains here. So the books that you see on that particular table sat on that particular table. The paperwork is actual paperwork that sat in that real tray that sat on that desk. So it's very authentic. These are actual documents. Everything is set up exactly how it would look like throughout the modern prison era. You'll see typewriters rather than computers, and handwritten documents, things like that. Now, where we're going next is Division 3, where there are display cells. Display cells show you the different time periods of the prison's history. Okay, so on your left-hand side, you'll see display cells from the very early, all the way to 1991. There are some cells with paintings. Make sure your flash is off for the paintings. Flash can be on for the other cells. Now, the right-hand side, those cells are set up for Section 43 cells. Section 43 was for at-risk prisoners. Prisoners that were attacking other prisoners, being attacked by other prisoners, suicidal, death row, things like that. So all the furniture is bolted to the floor, the covering is made out of plastic, boots are made out of, the poop bucket's made out of plastic, things like that. So it's all for their own protection and for the protection of the prisoners. They would be in there all by themselves. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a wander around, take some photos, have a look at yourself. Whose was it? Whose was it? Turn it off right now. Turn it on silent. All the way. Show me. All the way silent. Is it on silent? Is it on silent? I told you. I'm not going to tell you again. All right. Go ahead. Follow me this way. Take your photos. Wander around. Enjoy. tired of the inhumane conditions. So they decide we're going to have a riot. When the guard opened up that gate right there, they pinned him down, they poured boiling hot water all over his body. They grabbed his keys, they grabbed his weapons. They opened up the other exercise yards, prisoners flooded in, and the riots began. For the next 18 hours, prisoners took control of Fremantle Prison. They held 5 guards hostage. They traded one of those guards for a bunch of baked beans so they could eat and move on rioting. They took out furniture from all of these cells here. They piled it in a big pile right here, just behind you guys. They stole petrol from the landscaping crew, poured it all over that pile. Lit the pile on fire, the flames reached all the way to the ceiling. You can still see burn marks on the beams on that end. You'll notice the wood above you, totally different type of wood. Oregon pine, installed afterwards. So the roof burned down from that point forward. The fire department was called out to extinguish the fire. The fire truck tried to come in, got stuck right in the front gates. Couldn't even extinguish the fire, had to let it burn out on its own. Estimated damage $1.5 to $2 million in total. Now with that, after 18 hours, prisoners realized, okay, we can't keep riding, we've run out of food, we can't escape, there's no more point of it. They let riot police come in, take control of Fremantle Prison. Now what that did is that gave the Western Australian government the kick in the pants it needed to realize, okay, this can no longer be our maximum security prison. We've got human rights violations everywhere, it's a security nightmare, it's bound, a bigger riot's going to happen later, we've got to shut it down. So, they started building Casuarina Maximum Security Prison, 30 kilometers south of Perth. November 8th, 1991, all prisoners from this building transferred over to Casuarina. So that's how and why this place closed. Alright folks, we'll go ahead and head on through exercise yard of Division 3. Solitary confinement. What we're going to do is we're going to go in solitary confinement, we're going to have a look inside the cells, talk a little bit about it. You'll notice numbers on the walls in this next yard next to solitary confinement. But when we go inside, just have a look in the cells, clap your hands when you're in the cells, things like that, make some noise, and then we'll talk about it. So follow me this way.
Mm.
Alright, sir, were you the last of them?
Yep.
Alrighty. Alright folks, this is solitary confinement. This is where the punishment of solitary confinement was administered. 23 hours a day inside these tiny little cells. You had 1 hour a day outside of the cells, on the other side of that wall there, running back and forth from number to number. It was a nasty psychological punishment, a mental punishment more than anything else. It was not a punishment that you wanted to have. Now, if you were destined for solitary confinement, keeping inside there for 23 hours a day was enough to drive most men mad. Many people went completely insane on the other side of those doors there. Now, if you did go insane, you were then transferred over to the Fremantle Lunatic Asylum, which is now the Fremantle Art Center. So it hasn't changed much at all. Bunch of loonies over there. Have you been? It's crazy. Don't go. I'm just kidding. You're very nice people. Don't beat me up if you're from there, please. And then you come straight back here to finish the sentence off. Now all of these cells were used in solitary confinement, except for cell number 1. Cell number 1 was only used 44 times. I said that number previously on tour. The morning of your execution. You would get escorted from your cell in the main cell block or new division. You get brought to cell number 1 at 6 a.m. You get met by a priest to give you your last rites. You get a shot of brandy to steady your nerves. 8 a.m. rolls around. Guard, where's this arm? You guard, They escort you out to the gallows. They put a noose around your neck, and within a minute and a half, your neck is snapped, and you're dead. If everything goes correctly. Sometimes things did not go correctly. So what we're going to do is we're all going to have a look inside cell number 1, where 44 people spent the last 2 hours of their lives, and then just follow me outside this doorway here. So have a look inside cell number 1. Alright.
Yeah.
Very bright. You have a leather brace around your neck, leather brace around your lower back. Now everything is known as explode. Now the type of punishment administered was a cat and 9 tails. Big old handle with 9 whips. Angle down. So each strike of the cat is like being whipped 9 times. Now the first strike would break the skin. The second, the third, the fourth strike would start tearing bits of flesh off of your back and flinging it into the onlooking crowd, who, generally, are the guys up next. Even waiting in the queue was torture. Nasty, nasty punishment. Now we are heading into the gallows next. The gallows are where 44 people died. If anyone does not want to go into the gallows, that is fine. You're just going to wait in this hallway right over here. However, to be honest with you, if it was me personally, I would probably rather stick with the group rather than waiting all by myself in Western Australia's most haunted building. It's up to you. It's your decision. Follow us this way, folks.
Do you want to know?
I don't know if I'd want to do the knot to it.
What's that rattling noise?
Some chains.
Some chains. You hear those chains?
Alright folks, if we could kind of make a spot where we line up against the walls and leave this front bit open so you can see. We'll get a photo opportunity at the end as well, so don't worry about that. Now, what we've got here is the gallows. This is where 44 people were executed. So how it worked, 8 a.m. you would get escorted from cell number 1 of solitary confinement. You get brought up here, stand on top of these two boards right here. Now, the noose would go around your neck. The noose was based on your height and weight. It was supposed to give you a big enough drop that the 13 knots that would be above that loop would snap your neck when the hangman flips. drop, the rope would drop, the body would drop, dangle there, wriggling, writhing, gurgling in pain for about 1.5 minutes to snap your neck. That's how long it took to kill you. On average, sometimes, if there was one occurrence where the rope was too short, it didn't snap his neck, and it took 14 minutes of strangulation. Right there at the end of the noose. Nasty, nasty way to go. Now, what you're looking at is pretty much all original equipment. These rails are where the guards would hold their arms out towards the man falling. So when he fell straight down. This is the actual switch, the hayman switch. This is the beam 44 people dangled from. These are the boards you stand on if you were too scared to stand or you fainted. Didn't get out of it. 8 a.m. rolls around. You just sit on that chair right there, and that falls with you. This fence was not there. That's there for your own protection. And this rope here is the same type of rope. However, it's not a real noose. It was never used to execute anyone. In order to be a real noose, you have to have 13 knots right above that loop to snap your neck. So that will not snap your neck, although please don't try to prove me wrong. That will only strangle you. So we obviously don't want a real fully functioning noose here today. But this is the spot. This is where 44 people were executed. The last person executed was Eric Edgar Cook. He was a serial killer. He murdered his victims at random. He'd ring people's doorbells. They'd open the door. He'd take his rifle. Boom, blow the brains out. He'd see people sleeping on the front porch. Take his rifle. Boom, blow their brains out. He'd see people walking down the sidewalk. Take his car, run them over, keep on driving. 1964, he was the last person executed here in Western Australia. The last person executed in Australia was a prisoner in Melbourne called Ryan from Pentridge Prison. He tried to escape prison. Prison guard aimed his rifle at the prisoner, pulled the trigger, missed the prisoner, hit a prison guard, killing that prison guard. The prisoner was convicted of murdering that prison guard, and the prisoner was sentenced to death. Obviously a bit of a gray area case there. You could argue either way for that one. And what that did is that sparked the debate whether or not to abolish capital punishment, which it eventually did in 1984. So everyone convicted of murder between 1967 and 1984 were kept on death row until 1984, and then after 1984 they were swapped over to life in prison. So that's the history of capital punishment here in Australia. So feel free to take as many photos as you like here. As soon as you're done with photos, head on out that doorway there and just wait in that hallway. Go ahead, photos, and then unfortunately this does conclude our tour, but I'd just like to say you were a lovely group. I really enjoyed showing you around my office, so thank you for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. Now, if you did enjoy the tour, my name is Ben. We have a visitor comment book on your right-hand side on a table where you can be sure to write how amazing your tour with Ben was. Wow, highlight of my entire life. Thank you so much, Ben. And again, if you did not like the tour, my name is Nikki. You can write whatever terrible comments you want about Nikki. Nikki was terrible. Alright, well thanks for coming, guys. You're great. Really enjoyed your company. Go ahead, follow us this way. We're just going to head on out that door on your right-hand side. Thanks for coming, guys. Thanks for coming, guys. Thanks again. Alright, thanks for coming. Thanks again, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for coming, folks. Thanks. No problem. Thanks again. Alright, folks, straight down to that gate over there. If anybody's doing the Great Escapes at 11:45, your guide Steve right here. So just show Steve your ticket just over the right side.
Thereabouts. 11:45, Great Escapes.